Hi there guys, welcome to another YouTube video by Ross Perry Productions. In this video I'm going to be replacing the rear brake pads on a 2014 Land Rover Freelander 2. Now this is the SI4 petrol model and it does have the electric handbrake. So the part number I've got here, Bosch Pads, is BP1120. Now the first thing we're going to do is we're going to chock the wheels, make sure the handbrake is off but the car is in park. Now that's important when we come to screw back the electric handbrake connection that you'll see later. Let's get started. So one of the comments I always get is why don't you use a trolley jack and why you're not using a breaker bar and that sort of thing. And the simple answer is I do have those tools, but these are the tools that come with the car and these are the tools that I know everyone will have, and that's the idea of these videos. That said, a lot of my videos I do tend to put the wheel under the car. I do have some heavy duty jack stands that I'll be using this time round. You can still use the wheel under the car, your choice. So the first thing I like to do is actually start to undo the wheel nuts whilst we're on the floor. So just give it maybe half a turn or quarter of a turn. Now start to jack the car using whichever jack you choose to use. Just bear in mind you need to leave it in park and actually take the handbrake off. Now I'll take these off all the way. Okay, so looking at the back of the caliper, if you imagine the wheel goes on here, and this is the outside of the wheel, then on the inside here, this is the actuator for the electric handbrake. So we're going to take that off first. We've got two Torx bits, they're T30s. So just going to go ahead, take them all the way out. For the next step, you're going to need a 15mm spanner and a 13mm socket or spanner. And we're going to undo these two bolts on the end here. So what we're going to do, get one on there, get your 15 on there, and start to undo them. Now you don't want to take it all the way out because we want to loosen them both off first. So now move down to the second one. Once you've got them both loosened, then you can go ahead and take them all the way out. Now your caliper should be free to just slowly rock away from the car like so. And then I've just got a stool here and some timber just to rest it on to make sure there's no pressure on there. Now you should be able to pull off your old brake pads. Okay, before we start to push the piston back, we're going to have to disengage the electronic parking mechanism. So obviously we've got the solenoid off. You can just get a T45 Torx bit, get that straightened like so, and just turn that all the way clockwise till it stops. Go, stops. Now that should allow us to push that piston back in. Before we do that, we're actually going to open up the brake fluid reservoir under the bonnet, so I'll show you how to do that now. Okay, now with your bonnet open, look on the driver's side or the right hand side of the vehicle in this instance. Just look for this black tab here. We're just going to pull that up and open. That is where our brake reservoir is hidden. So we're just going to go ahead, undo the lid and check where your fluid is. Mine's actually pretty high, so I'm going to want to keep an eye on that when I push the piston back. Now with the reservoir open and our electric parking brake mechanism retracted, I'm just going to go ahead and get my piston retraction tool, which looks something like that. Now I've seen people use G-clamps or anything else, that's fine as well, but this is good because it only works internally. And we're just going to go ahead and start to push that piston back. No need to force it back too far, making sure the rubber stays out of the way. There we go. As I said earlier, just make sure you check your fluid. Like mine is pretty much at the top now. So if I wasn't going to bleed the brakes, which I am, I would probably siphon some of that fluid out. Next thing I'm going to do is actually just compare the old pads with the new. As you can see, there's a lot less meat on the bones. That wasn't too bad. Wasn't too bad at all, really. Identical size. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and put some copper grease just in a few places. I'm going to put some very slight amount just down in each of the channels for the pad to actually slide around in. Some on the actual piston around the rubber as well, and then a very thin smear on just the back of the pad as well. Now we can go ahead and put our pads in position. Once you're happy everything's clean in position and you've got a little bit of copper grease on there, just start to get your caliper and your piston all lined up, making sure you can get the bolts in there. Now the last thing we're going to do is actually reinstall our servo for the parking brake. And again, I'm just going to put a little tiny bit of copper grease around the rim like so. Line it up and start to rotate it onto the caliper. Line up our Torx bits. So I'm now going to go ahead and actually bleed the brakes, but there's enough videos on the internet of how to do that, so I won't show you how to do that. But for your information, the nipple is just here on the back of the caliper. I'll be using Castrol's brake fluid .4. This is the Protector series. It's what was recommended for the car, but you often will see me use the Performance series as well. So just remember, please put the cap back on your reservoir and everything back in the engine bay as it was when you started, and enjoy your new brakes. I will be making videos on how to replace the front brakes as well as probably the rotors on the car as well at some stage, so please do keep tuned. There we go, that's how easy it is to remove and replace the rear brake pads on a 2014 Land Rover Freelander 2. This is the SI4 petrol model. If you found this video helpful, please go ahead and give me the thumbs up, leave me a comment down below, check out some of our other videos, and please subscribe to my channel.